Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Pete Crow Armstrong, sometimes just forgets the whole basic principle of how this thing works. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Vince America.
Hey, ADH.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, how you doing? Doing okay?
Absolutely killing it over here, Nathan. I rise and grind every day, and I'm grinding right now.
This is America's #1 Rise and Grind podcast. We're all about that lifestyle. Dunk a stick of butter in your coffee and get at it.
What?
That was a thing. Remember that thing? What do they call it? Bulletproof coffee. I don't want to drop a brand name here, but there was like a shitty fad of if you rise and grind so hard, you ain't got time in your busy schedule for a breakfast. You know,
so you put butter in your coffee?
So you dump.
I bet you that's pretty good. I mean, it's butter.
I mean, I do it every day, of course, because I ain't got time. But yeah, like the idea was that you would do like, I don't think it's a full stick of butter, but you would put butter into your coffee, and that gives you like the fats and stuff that you need from the morning. With the caffeine, and you can just go to you can be a killer in the boardroom and on the streets.
And the bedroom.
Hey, hell.
If butter coffee sounds good. I feel like you're talking shit on butter coffee, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think you generally put butter on most things you eat. Is that right?
Of course, yeah.
Birthday cake.
What are you talking about? Yeah. That's mostly butter, anyways.
That's a good point. Cheeseburger, butterburger.
Name a food that's worse with butter, you idiot.
Oh no. I literally can't think of anything. Hold on. There's gotta be something. Damn. M&Ms. I don't know. That might be fine.
Could be good. Yeah.
Could be good.
I mean, some people throw M&Ms in their popcorn covered in butter,
There's that Simpsons joke where Homer is doing the butter spigot directly into his Milk Duds.
Oh, yeah. That's see? Butter is good.
That's a good point. Wow. Welcome back to Talking About Butter. That's a good podcast. Hambone, you and I it's a butter show. It's a better butter show.
That was good. I like that.
Hambone, you and I both attended some live music in the last week, but you refused to tell me who you saw until we got on the podcast, because that's the life we live. Who did you see?
I saw Weird Al Yankovic at Red Rocks last night.
Weirdo Al, man.
Weirdo Al.
There's a number of shows that I have like regretted not flying out to Red Rocks to see, and that is one of them. Although he is playing here in St. Louis later, that I also intend to go to.
You gotta go. Yeah. It was excellent. Everything about it was fantastic. The first time I saw him back in like the 6th grade or something like that, and it was before Running with Scissors came out.
Well, I believe we both were at that show. It was at,
so.
Six Flags back in
Yeah. With Paul Brusati, my old next door neighbor. Shout out, Paul. Yeah, is a real one right there.
Weekly listener, I think.
Paul, if you're listening for some reason, holler at your boy. It'd be nice to hear from you. Seeing all those, and I think Running with Scissors was a record that really meant a lot to me, and seeing all those songs, and it was just great. I love Weird Al. It was just 2 hours straight of bits and songs, and I loved it. It was fantastic. Also, Red Rocks is a good place to be.
Yeah, I obviously a huge fan of Weird Al. I wish that he was still doing things. I mean, I know we've talked about this, you and I, a couple times before, but I don't think we've done it for content. So I've been a little disappointed. I know he's like pretty constant still in like the alt comedy scene, and he pops up and stuff all the time. So he's definitely still out there. But I just wonder if maybe he's just like, maybe I'm a little too old at this point for like the parody game or something. But it's a wide open market at this point. But I would love some more Weird Al out there.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Just keep making Weird Al. I like the movie that came out a couple of years ago, but yeah, more Al is good.
He did like he's done he did I know it's not your thing, but he did like a Hamilton polka a couple years ago. Like it was a few years after the whole Hamilton thing, but he did a Hamilton polka, which was fun. I could go just do a yearly polka, Weird Al. If you're out there, every December, just put out a polka of like the top 10 songs of that year. And I think it would get 1 billion plays and it would be awesome. But I also saw a show. I went on a Sunday night out to the factory out in Chesterfield, which I don't think you've been to before, but it's I've been
in the vicinity of the factory. I went to the burger place over there.
Yeah, it's it's a bummer that it's like all the way out there, but of course it's hard to find space that big for a space.
Yeah, there's definitely not like a ton of empty, dilapidated buildings in St. Louis that could be retrofitted.
No, of course not. We need those. We need those empty. And it's good. It's a good thing. I saw recently. It's actually, I think it's back under contract now, but the AT&T building downtown is the biggest abandoned building in the United States. So we love that. That's cool.
There you go. St. Louis always at the top.
Heavily guarded though, abandoned, but still like the company that owns it just like guards it. You gotta keep them away. So that's cool. We love that too. But I do think they're working on
Richard Nixon.
Yeah. Hey everybody!
Shut up. Stop it. Idiot.
So I went to the factory and I saw Devo on Sunday night.
Very good.
Yeah. I'm a very big Devo fan. I generally am not big into like legacy act shows. Like I'll see them every once in a while, but I don't seek them out too much. This was the 50th anniversary of Devo. So I looked it up. I'm a huge Mark Mothersbaugh fan though. He between Devo and his work on like Wes Anderson films and the Rugrats theme song and things like that, I'm a giant Mark Mothersbaugh fan. So I wanted to go see him, and and I had an opportunity. So it was really fun. He is 75 years old. So you know what? I love this. Show started at 7:45 p.m. and was done at 9. We were walking out of the factory at 9:10.
The sun had just gone down. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that, especially on a Sunday night.
Yeah, especially for what it was. I didn't need an opener. I'm there to see Devo. It's a bunch of really old men who are on sort of a legacy tour. I know it's like they had 4 costume changes, which is great. And I think that was also like to go in the back and get IVs and things like that.
Sure.
But it was also like nonstop bits, which was fun. They were very fun. It's a very funny band, and they had a lot of. It was a multimedia experience, Hambo.
Wow.
But the funniest part was. So I'm a big Devo fan, but I haven't necessarily engaged in like a lot of the old videos and things like that. I mostly have just listened to the music for a very long time. And so I didn't know about a particular character in the Devo world known as Boogie Boy. Are you familiar with Boogie Boy?
I am not. No.
Are you a Devo fan?
Yeah, we're going to go see them in October. They're coming to Denver as well.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, then I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's the set ends with a very, very strange thing that it involves a guy named Boogie Boy coming out and singing the last song of the set.
Okay.
So, but if you're out there and the tour's coming around and you like Devo, I think it's worth it. Like the thing that really stood out to me is you kind of forget that they're like a guitar heavy band. The mix on Devo tracks emphasizes the synths and the vocals, but seeing him live, they kind of shred, and they have some of the weirdest sounding, like Are We Human? Are We Not Human? We Are Devo.
We Are Devo.
One of the most like strange, like intense and interesting live music things I've ever seen. And you and I have both seen a lot of live music, so I try not to say that like with hyperbole. It's just an incredibly bizarre song, and with the multimedia thing going on, you just don't really hear any songs like that then or now. It's not one of my favorite songs of theirs, but seeing it live was really cool. So
cool. Well, yeah. I will report back in a few months.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about your St. Louis Cardinals. We've got a few bits of news to cover, and then we'll talk about what has been a pretty good run of Cardinal baseball.
I should say so, Nathan.
Hell yeah. We are recording. We always got to timestamp ourselves for our new listeners. We are recording on Wednesday. So the Cardinals have just come off of 2 wins against the Cubs, including maybe the most exciting game of the year last night on Tuesday night. Hopefully have another couple good games tonight and tomorrow with the Cubs and make this division a lot more interesting. But as far as news goes, probably the biggest thing in the last week, disappointing, Iván Herrera back on the IL with a hamstring issue. Wide range of recovery outcomes here. They are saying from 2 to 6 weeks. So it could be this, could be triple this. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. I guess I appreciate them giving such a vague medical report when they often, might as well say, well, it could be up to 6 weeks.
We don't know.
But we don't know. So it's
refreshing.
A bummer. I mean, sure. I don't even know what to say. We've already gone through an Iván Herrera injury once this year. It's a gigantic bummer. He's become an integral part of this team's offense. I guess it does help. Like every time an injury happens, the log jam conundrum becomes a little bit easier to manage, and we can stop having that conversation a little bit. We've been talking about the 3 catcher problem for a while now. This sort of makes that a little bit more manageable, opens up the DH, things like that. But at the end of the day, like the team is better with him on it. So it is not a positive thing that he's out.
Yeah, it's it should be noted that, if you drop down the minimum playing time standards to fit with what Iván Herrera has been able to play this year, he is the 8th best hitter by WRC plus in MLB. Obviously it's only in 42 games out of we're almost at 80, right?
We are at 80 today.
80.
I was going to talk about this later, but today is the halfway point of the season.
So obviously he's played a little over half of the games, but still he's 8th in MLB and WRC plus. So when he's been here, he's been really, really good. We saw some clips of him. I think it was last night on the Tuesday night broadcast of him doing some lateral movements and flinging that little hamstring around and doing this, that, and the other. So I think that's good news. And it's kind of making me think like he's had 2 lower body tweaks this year. Yeah. Maybe we have a full-time DH for the remainder of 2025, or at least while the Cardinals are still in the hunt. I think kind of to what you were saying, it is nice to have that DH spot open for the Burleson and Jordan Walker and Gorman, and we'll talk about all the hitters and everything that they're doing later. But having that open is obviously a nice from the flexibility standpoint. But I think, this team is sniffing a wild card berth. They are 2 games into beating the snot out of at least the Cubs pitching, maybe not the Cubs team as a whole, but beating up the Cubs pitching. So as we've said multiple times, you got to keep pushing, try to win every game that you can right now. These opportunities are not guaranteed, so keep pushing in, and hopefully Iván Herrera comes back soon and continues to slug, and we keep figuring it out. But I'm going to say it's going to be on the lower end of the 2 to 6 weeks, and I'm going to say that is going to be accelerated because he is not really going to be catching anytime soon.
Yeah.
And maybe I would say it's very plausible that he could stay healthier by just hitting and then running the bases, occasionally when he doesn't hit the ball over the wall.
Yeah, and maybe being particularly proactive with pinch running later in the game if it makes sense, just to save his legs even more.
Well, Nate, we just got the best pinch runner in baseball.
I was about to do that same segue. Man, we are locked into it.
We are. This show is good.
You put 2 sticks of butter in your coffee this morning.
Oh, my God. I'm having a prebiotic soda as well. I am grinding this morning.
Wow. Yeah, so let's go into it. So the Cardinals.
Well,
what?
This is the move. This is the move. I'm trying to set this up with what it respects, or what it deserves. Sorry.
With what it respects. Yep. This is the move. The Cardinals have officially acquired your favorite player, Hambone, former Rocky, Garrett Hampson. He's been signed. He's been picked up off waivers from the Cincinnati Reds, and in a corresponding move, Jose Barrero was designated for assignment. So on the Jose Barrero side, kind of a bummer. He was always going to be the sort of 26 man. He kind of like Valade, like really needed to come in and really impress with every opportunity. And while we saw some flashes, it kind of made sense that he might be the first guy out if we're going to bring in someone new. And when you've got an opportunity to go out there and swap a Jose Barrero for a Garrett Hampson, you got to do it, right, Hambone? How are you feeling? I mean, I can tell. Can you give us the rundown on Garrett Hampson?
I think it's important to start this conversation with the context that any player that you're picking off of waivers is not a great player, right? Full stop.
Right. Yeah.
You're not the Reds aren't just going to they're not going to put a Garrett Hampson on waivers because he's performing too well, or his tools are too exciting, or he's too young.
This guy's too good for this team. We got, if you love someone, you got to let him go.
Right. So I think that should be hit first. So I've watched a lot of Garrett Hampson. He spent, and I've been here his entire Rockies career. When we thought he was going to be something, he popped up and turned out to maybe be something, and then kind of failed, and turned into a role player, bench player for a while. He is very fast. That cannot be argued. He is extremely fast. But he's just not a good hitter. I don't think he has a good plate approach. There is almost no power. He strikes out at an okay amount. He walks at an okay amount. And I don't really think that he is the type of defender that can play shortstop. I think he can play at okay center field, and I think he can play a pretty good second base. And the reason that I'm a little flummoxed by this move is I understand that you're getting a little bit of he has big league games under his belt, a lot more than Barrero, and a lot more than a lot of the current Cardinals roster, to be totally honest.
Sure.
He's got, what am I looking at? 657 big league games. So that's not nothing. This guy screams of a future coach or instructor or something like that. He's one of those guys. But my problem is, like I said, he can't really play shortstop. You could definitely play shortstop in a pinch, but who can't? He's an okay outfielder. He should be a fine center fielder. You have a Siani at home. You have a Saggese at home. We've seen Brendan Donovan play short in a pinch. And I think that we have the kind of in-house tools that could either be taking a better at bat, that offer you speed on the bases. I think Barrero has a little better defensive ceiling, as far as we've seen him make some really nice plays in center field. We've seen him make some really nice plays at shortstop. I think he also, I'm always going to be, I've talked about this endlessly. I'm always going to be on the fan of the upside play as opposed to the Garrett Hampson side play. They're just, the juice has been squeezed. There's not much more that's coming out of this guy. I don't think so. I don't hate the move because it is the 26-man roster, and maybe there's some leadership. I mean, him and Nolan played together. Maybe Nolan said, like, this guy is that clubhouse guy that you need, because we know that Nolan has manipulated the 26-man roster in the past.
Yes.
And they played together for, I think, 3 or 4 seasons or something like that. So maybe there's something like that, some clubhouseiness that we're not privy to, at least right now. But like I said, I think you kind of have a better version of Garrett Hampson at home. Jose Fermin is, not a great defender, but he's having a really nice offensive season at AAA. Nathan Church is, probably a corner outfielder, maybe a center fielder, and he is crushing it at AAA right now. I'm always talking about Luke and Baker. I just would have rather have seen this roster spot go to somebody else. If you've decided that you don't need Jose Barrero anymore, I can meet you there. But yeah, I like I said, I think I'd rather have an in-house option or keep going with Barrero, Barrera, sorry. Yeah, just not excited about this. I do expect this. Like, I also could see him being on the team for like a month and then gone. Yeah. So I don't want to like burn the houses down or anything like that or whatever. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat too many of your points. I do think it's one of those things where like you can only feel so much emotion in either direction about a 26th man waiver acquisition that replaces another guy that you got off the waivers, right? You're just sort of you're rotating out that 26th man, and in this case, the only benefit I see is that Hampson at least this year has had an 84th percentile sprint speed, whereas Barrera has had a 36th percentile sprint speed. So, Hampson is definitely faster.
That could be up to 1 run throughout the season.
It really could be, because both of these guys have basically, incredibly small sample sizes.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And Hampson, in his very small amount of plate appearances, has also been drawing walks pretty well. So I guess maybe they're thinking, well, if we have to have this guy have an at bat, maybe he can get on base and steal or something like that. Or it is sort of the move of, well, we're going to have Herrera back, and we are planning on pinch running for him a little bit more than than we have in the past. So let's come in and bring let's get a designated runner for a week or two. That won't cost us too much, because I have to imagine a lot of this is just simply they don't want to call up someone with a higher ceiling, with more pedigree, someone that they see has a longer term future for the team for this sort of role. And, like you said, I will be very surprised if Hampson is on this team come the All-Star break. I think we may see, we see moves like this from teams all year. You're just swapping these guys around.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, even if he's just a pinch runner, like, Siani's fast.
Yeah.
And
we have no shortage of infielders, so
yeah.
I know. I get it too. I think it just must be something about not wanting to use one of the in-house guys for whatever reason, development, options, whatever it is. They just don't want to do it. And so they wanted to get another guy. They've decided to move on from Barrero, and here we are. I don't think it's worth getting too worked up either way.
83rd percentile in sprint speed. I'm based on this conversation, I'm convinced that this is Nolan Arenado saying, "What about my bro?
Come on, he needs help. Yeah, he's got no job." You think he said that?
Maybe. Yeah, that sounds like what Nolan Arenado would say. Speaking of Saggese, we skipped over, but in the corresponding move with Iván Herrera going down, Saggese is back on the team now.
Yeah, which is nice. He obviously, I think he should be at the major league level at this point. I don't think there's any question about that. He's just a victim of the logjam, and so it's we've said this a lot on this show. Like, this is what good teams do. They have too many interesting players, and you're like, oh, come on, bring up this guy, but you'd rather have that problem than the inverse. So I'm
There's
glad
a lot
he's back.
of teams that would be begging for a Thomas Saggese in their middle infield right now.
Yeah. So I'm glad he's back. Playing time is still a big question, though we've seen him a little bit. So I don't know. Just fun to have him on the team. He's someone that, there's mixed opinions on what is like his true talent level. At times in the minors, he's looked like a future MVP. I mean, what was he? The Texas League MVP in 2023, right?
Yeah, he put up 26 home runs. He had a really nice year that year.
Yeah. Last year scuffled a little bit, but then this year when he was up, absolutely crushed the ball in a very small sample size. And
AAA right now, he's rocking a 129 WRC plus. He's hitting over 300. He's on base over 400, and he's slugging almost 4.5. I think that he is probably like a Brendan Donovan type producer, a guy that can play multiple positions all over the field and can hit above average, but not like elite.
Yeah, like if your full breakout, intense MVP winning season in the minor leagues is 26 home runs, then your major league cap, he's a young guy. He could grow into power. Don't get me wrong. People there that you can still develop at the major league level. I don't want to completely, paint with too broad a brush here, but like you'd expect probably, 20 is his peak. I think a Brendan Donovan comp is reasonable, but let's also be reasonable in that where if Saggese is anything like Brendan Donovan, then like holy shit, like with that,
we are happy about this.
Yeah, what an incredible outcome. Donovan is arguably the best overall player on the team right now.
Yes.
So it would be a great outcome if Saggese is just another Brendan Donovan. But
I'm not complaining about that, to be clear. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. I don't want to have another full-on logjam conversation. It's been a huge part of the show.
We're jammed up, Nate. We're jammed.
Did you see? I'm sure you've seen it. Spaceballs 2 has been announced.
Watched the trailer this morning.
Trailer was funny for an all-text trailer. It was pretty funny,
I mean, I'll go see it in the theater.
Yeah, it's another Lego sequel. A sequel 38 years after the last one or whatever. I'm just generally, I don't think anyone finds a ton of excitement about those sorts of things. However, Mel Brooks is king, and he's still kicking it. He's in the trailer. I think he's 99 years old, maybe 101. I hope he makes it to the release. This movie's coming out in 2027, I think.
Don't curse.
2027. It's
Chill
years
out,
away.
Chill out.
But I'm there's a bunch of spoof movies in production right now. Naked Gun is coming back.
I can't tell if that looks funny or not. I watched the trailer for that the other day too. I'll probably go see it just because I'm a sucker, but we'll see.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a spoof movie? They obviously we've been around long enough to see them burn out in the early 2000s with like Scary Movie 5 and Not Another Teen. It gets dull after a while, but and they basically ran the spoof movie genre into the ground, so much so that it really hasn't been a genre outside of a few things here and there for like 20 years now. But I'm here for it. I think
I'm a big Walk Hard fan.
Yeah, there's a Walk Hard is good. There's a few that pop up. But even those don't have exactly the same tone as like the Mel Brooks style.
No, nothing has.
Yeah. So I'm here for it. I will see it, and I hope that they it'll be hopefully fun to see how they bring in things like Dune and more modern. That's been around for a long time, but the recent adaptations of Dune and whatnot. Sure. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Let's talk about the Cardinals. Yeah. The Cardinals' recent play, Nathan.
All right, the Cardinals.
We had a good week.
Your St. Louis Cardinals are 2.5 games back, 2.5 games back of the Chicago Cubs. They are tied in that position with the resurgent Milwaukee Brewers, who are playing very well as well. And you've got the Cincinnati Reds 4.5 back, so 2 games behind the Cardinals. The division is tight. We all thought that these teams were pretty similarly rated, and it was kind of a crapshoot which one was going to break out. The Cubs were the consensus pick, and they are the leading it, and they have the best run differential in baseball. So they are good. They are very good, but the Cardinals are playing well. We had they did what they had to do against the Chicago White Sox, which was fun and good to see. Comeback win there, doubleheader win, which is great. They won the series against the Reds, part of the reason where they are now. And as we stand here now, they've won 2 of 4 against the Cubs, which I think was we talked about it last week. That to me, like if you just get the split, that's a good outcome for how well the Cubs have been playing. And when we talked about it last week, the Cardinals have been scuffling a little bit. So we were like, just win 2 from the Cubs and keep yourself in the division, because when we spoke last week, the Cardinals were 7.5 back, and it started to look like, man, if they get crushed by the Cubs, we could be going into July 11 games back of the division or something like that. And, you start to have different conversations as you get into the trade deadline season. But as it stands, feeling pretty good. Hambo. We're 2.5 games back, got 2 more games left. They're winning. The offense has been the interesting thing, right? So who do we want to talk about first?
We have to start the conversation with Alec Burleson.
Yes.
A player that this podcast has taken to task a time or two. I would like to note that he made a very, very nice catch earlier this week against the perimeter fencing thing. That was nice, and his defense is fine. It doesn't really matter. He's got a 161 WRC plus in June, so you play whatever defense you want out there. He is crushing the ball. What I really love about what he's doing right now is he's got that 161 WRC plus in June. He only has 8 strikeouts and 88 plate appearances in June. He is going full Burleson. He's not really walking. He's barely striking out. He's got a 350 average in this month. It just seems to be hitting everything. He hit that. There was a home run that was basically at his eye level the other day that he knocked out and sent that to the bullpen. He's done a lot of really interesting things. He's almost like, I'm not saying he's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Senior, but like his plate coverage in this moment is something to behold. It's very, very impressive, and everything is being hit hard. He's forced his way into starting every single day. There will be a time this season where he's not on fire in this way, and we'll talk about that, as it comes up. But right now, he's the best or second best hitter on the team, and he's batting third, and we're winning, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I was probably the loudest about Burleson not making any sense on this team, and I think things change, right? So. My point before was that if this team is rebuilding, there's not much that it doesn't make sense to have a platoon bat who can't play defense. Right. And, but that's a very valuable asset on a team that is competing. So a couple things have changed since then. One, the team is competing, and so you're maximizing your output. And so Burleson absolutely fits into a competing team. And 2, he's starting to hit lefties a little bit, right?
Yep.
So, he's growing, which is great, and the team has changed, and so he's exactly, you certainly wish he could play more premium defense, and I also would love to see something better than a 7% sprint speed. But when you hit the ball as hard as he does and hit it as constantly as he does and into the gap, your sprint speed means a lot less. He's absolutely crushing it. This is the purest form of Burleson that we've seen. And the question now is just, can he keep it up? Everything is backed up generally, underlying numbers. He doesn't necessarily barrel it a ton. He doesn't necessarily hit it super hard all the time, but he hits it so much that, it's that adage, Ben. You put the ball in play, and you never know what happens. So
yeah. As far as his splits are concerned, these are season totals, not just June. But obviously, in June, he's been one of the better hitters in MLB. He has a 123 WRC plus against lefties. He has a 124 WRC plus against righties. His OPS against lefties is 799, righties 808.
So basically the same.
He's basically he's striking out slightly more and walking a little less, but he's got a little more slug. So it's basically a wash. These numbers are essentially nothing, but he has not really experienced any platoon downsides, at least so far. And then, like I said, he kind of had a slow start to the season, but he put up a really good numbers in May and even better in June. And yeah, it's good. This is good.
It's good.
There's no complaints.
It's good.
I think I would love for him to get a few more starts at first and a few more starts at DH rather than the outfield. But that's okay. I think the only problem is the jaywalk of it all. What do you do with a Jordan Walker? Obviously, you can't sit Nootbaar, who we talked about him a couple of weeks ago or maybe last week. He's starting to come out of it a little bit. That home run he hit Tuesday night was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So seeing him heat up is nice. Obviously, Victor Scott is your center fielder, and Burly and Walker are not going to play there. The only problem this presents is that Jordan Walker's got very few plate appearances this month. Obviously, he had an injury too, and it's kind of hard to see him starting over Burly, Newt, or really anyone else right now. So, kind of back to this weird problem.
Yeah, and I think we even said this last week, Walker, unfortunately, is the more obvious choice to lose playing time right now when you're trying to win every game, which is particularly disappointing because, I don't know, maybe we were seeing a Walker breakout before the injury. It kind of looked like it. It was too small sample size to really make any bold predictions off of, but he had a 900 OPS over a 3-week period. So yeah.
So if let's just talk about the next 2 weeks of Cardinals baseball. If you're starting those three every day in the outfield, does it make sense to send Walker down and call up a Ciani or call up a Church or make a move like that and give Walker every day at bats? Because I don't know what value to him or the team Walker riding the bench has. It seems like a waste of time.
Defensive replacement for Burleson in right field.
Nathan Church and Michael Ciani would be better at that.
Yeah. Here's an even more challenging question, Hambone. Trade deadline coming up. Cardinals are in the mix for NL Central for the division title. You have a starting outfield that you're very happy with Burleson, Scott, and Nootbaar, and Gorman is also crushing and is really playing DH or second base, and Herrera's back, so that's clogged up. Is Walker the move to go and get you that arm that you need? It's probably a sell low, which you hate to do, but someone will acquire Jordan Walker.
Absolutely, someone will acquire Jordan Walker. But I think the problem is you would just be getting so little back on your dollar that it would not make sense. So I think that it would make a lot more sense to trade a Burly or Donovan or something like that, which I don't want to happen, to be clear. I like those guys, but they make way more sense on the trade block, and you can replace the way in which this roster is constructed. It's a lot easier to replace one of those guys.
And no one, even though, I know it's been years now, but there's still no one on the team that has a ceiling as high as Jordan Walker, No. So I'm not calling for it either. I would hate to see that happen because he's going to go and fucking crush for the Tampa Bay Rays or the Dodgers, wherever he goes. Yeah. So I don't want it either. But if the team is winning, that means you have a good team, and that means you kind of like everybody probably. And if you're going to acquire a good piece at the deadline, you probably do need to trade from that MLB roster, and you're gonna be unhappy about if it is Donovan, which I don't think makes any sense either. He's, like we said earlier, he's arguably your best player. It's going to hurt one way or another. But if you can go and get that young arm or even like a veteran arm that you have a little bit of control over, that you might just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Maybe Gormy stays hot and you can go get that Jose Soriano or somebody that we were talking about last week. But I do think Walker, I think you could get something, but with his lack of a track record and his perceived flaming out at the big leagues, trading him for 50 cents on the dollar makes no sense.
It would be selling low when there's a bunch of guys on the team that you could be selling high on. But that's the risk of selling high. There's a risk on both sides, right? If you sell high, but they stay that good for the just moving forward, then you've just traded an incredibly valuable asset that just is really good. But if you sell low, well, maybe you got out while there's still some value left, or you sold low and he breaks out the next year.
And this is why, Chaim Bloom and John Mozeliak are extremely wealthy men. Like, you need to decide that Nolan Gorman can be moved because you believe so much in Saggese or JJ Weatherholt or whoever is next up, in the carousel, and you have to go out and make that decision. And I will say, I really hope they make a decision like that. I don't know who it should be or for what, but if they can go get a legitimate starting pitcher, I think trading from one of those guys makes a lot of sense. Now, if they are talking about doing that for a bullpen piece, I will fly to St. Louis and burn down Busch Stadium 3. But for a starting pitcher with some control, I could get on board for a lot of different scenarios.
A lot of brick in that building might be kind of hard to burn down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll kill dozer.
Rent a bulldozer. Should we build a kill dozer?
I've always wanted to get one of the
big wrecking ball.
Wrecking, because it feels very cartoonish. But I'd like to take it down with that.
I want to ride on it as it plows through, right field.
I think what it would do for the pod, man. Talking about Nolan Gorman and Burly and all this, Burly isn't even leading the team in WRC Plus in June right now, Nate. With 174, it's Nolan Gorman. He's Gorming. Gorman has 5 homers and only 65 plate appearances. His slash line in June is 289, 385, 607. That's very exciting. Obviously, limited plate appearances. Obviously, super small sample size. Him doing a lot of damage against the Cubs is a lot of fun. But the dude he's taking his walks and thumping right now.
It's exactly what this team needs. There's a reason why this team has been successful in the last week. It's, like you said, Burleson's a big part of it, but we've been saying this team needs some dingers. We need some dongs to be doinked. There's been a significant lack of doinking on this team, and we called out a number of guys who we thought was the path out of this. And Gorman, there's no one else on the team with this sort of power potential. And we've seen it before. His whole thing has always been, can he do it for extended periods? He's an incredibly streaky player. When he is on, he looks like one of the best hitters in baseball. But his off is bad, right? He does not have a sort of just like steady level. He's either absolutely crushing it or struggling. And so his real development and his path to being an everyday player for an extended time at the major league level is probably not to slug like this all the time, but to be able to be productive even when you're not absolutely crushing it in every single at bat. So, how we get there, I don't know, but I will say it has been quite a while since we've seen this version of Gorman. So it's really good to see, because there's definitely part of me, especially earlier in the season, that started to wonder, like, is he just cooked? Is it just that he's been figured out? He didn't make the adjustment and it's done. So now that it's happening again, we're like, okay, all right. He's still a young guy. There's still lots of time. He could be what we all hoped he would be. And they couldn't need it anymore. And now is a great time to start getting it. So I just hope it continues.
And man, when he's right, it looks easy. He looks like he's not swinging very hard. the ball takes off of his bat. It really looks nice. And it's worth noting that this little hot streak has brought his season numbers. He's WRC plussing 106 on the season, obviously above average there. He is walking almost 13% of at bats. And, he's only hitting 226 right now. But we've talked about this before. If he can Schwarber, he's a Schwarbering second baseman, third baseman, however you want to place him, is really, really valuable, especially for the shape of the Cardinals roster where we're talking about that power that's needed. I don't want everything from him. I'm not expecting him to hit 300 and get on base 400 and slug 600. But if he can keep the power consistent, keep his walks up, he can really settle into a very, very good player for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think his path to being that, like, he's not always going to hit it as hard, but his path to being that consistent player is keeping that walk rate up, because when he's struggling, that K rate starts to fly and his walk rate goes down and everything goes down. We're talking 39, 40% strikeout rate, which is just deeply unproductive. Right. So if he can keep that walk rate up and that's, I mean, it's kind of a standard profile in the major league at this point, right? You see a lot of it. It's low batting average, high power, high walk rate. Schwarber is your ideal outcome because the low batting average at this point, Schwarber now, his batting average is like a 240, 245, which is really good.
Well, Schwarber's having like maybe a career year this year also. He's been
even
really,
last
really
year
good.
though, he hit 240 something, so he found that next level, and now he is he's a borderline MVP player if he was had some sort of defensive value. So either way, it's fun to see. Team needs it, and he needs to be prioritized for at bats right now, and they have been. He's started most of the games now.
Yeah. I feel like we also need to shout out Nolan Arenado, who is, we were talking, similar things. Is he cooked? Can he defend well enough to be valuable? And over the month of June, he's put up a 111 WRC plus. His season WRC plus is getting, it's at 96. He's evening out. And I think it's just worth noting that he has kind of turned his season around. And if he can just keep this 105 to 110 kind of, just 5 to 10% above major league average and that defense, then I think we can be extremely happy with what Nolan Arenado is giving us. And I also wanted to take a second to chat about that play that he made last night against the Cubs, the last out of the game.
Yeah.
It was Dansby Swanson grounds a 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Ryan Helsley, kind of a high bouncer, slow ball to Arenado. Arenado bare hands it and then guns him out at first, with Wilson Contreras making a really, really nice stretch. But his defense has been, he's one of the best defenders in baseball again. It's really, really fun to watch. And if we could just keep the offense slightly above average, even 100 WRC, I would be fine with that. If you could just sit right around there, I am totally happy with Nolan Arenado being on this team and kind of leading it emotionally or whatever.
Yeah, that was an incredible play. I think that's one of those things where it's like only Nolan Arenado, or maybe like a Matt Chapman or something like that. Only the elite are making that play, and it's literally a game-winning play because otherwise the Cubs tie that. Or I think a lot of third basemen fail, and it soars into the outfield or whatever, into the bullpen or into the dugout, and now the Cardinals are losing that game going into
into the bullpen. That is one hell of a throw.
Whoops.
Let's talk about some of the pitching real quick. Libby seems to have refigured out his season. He had 3 rough starts. His last 2 starts against the Chicago teams, he put up a 1.93 FIP in 13 innings. And I think he's looked really good. The strikeouts have been a little lower than they were earlier in the season, but he's giving you length and he is being stingy. So it's been really, really good, at least the last 2 starts.
Yeah. That's it's a real breakout, but even the best pitchers have struggles. So it's good to see him settle back in and I don't know, look like the future of the pitching staff for the St. Louis Cardinals, like going into next season, it's Gray and then him, right?
Yeah.
And then we don't know
whoever else is around. Yeah. McGreevy, hopefully, or Roby, or somebody. Yeah. Somebody will be there. Somebody will be pitching. Man, I hope the Cardinals get a solid starting pitcher in the offseason. It'd be fun. Speaking of solid. Oh,
well, I was gonna say, have you looked at Roby recently? He is doing he's doing very well. There's a lot of I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but if you're out there listening and you're bored, I would say go look at Roby and go look at Joshua Baez. Remember him?
Ooh, I've been paying attention to Baez this season. He is doing big man things down there.
He is.
I remember when he drafted. Didn't he say like I'm Mike Trout or something like that?
This outfield log jam, ding ding ding. It's gonna start looking more and more interesting here too. With Baez is I think he's ascending, so we'll see. But he's looking good.
He's slugging 662 in Double-A right now. 662.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's absolutely crushing it.
His WOBA is 462. Wow, he is having a lot of fun down there.
Yeah.
Bring him up.
And he's one of those guys who was drafted high projection, struggled out of the gate. So the way prospect ranking works, if you flounder even for a moment, you just collapse in rankings because there's someone else out there who isn't. But that doesn't mean the ceiling isn't still there, and he seems to be coming back around on it. So, and where I started this, Roby is also looking very good right now. So, I wonder if we might see a Roby up here soon, ahead of a Quinn Matthews who has struggled a little bit at AAA.
Yeah, Roby is getting beat around a little at AAA, but he's striking people out. Yeah, we'll see. Eric Fedde seems to have turned a corner, kind of similar to Libby. He's got a 2.49 ERA over his 4 June starts. Again, he's not really striking out the world or doing anything really, really special, but he's kind of doing that Eric Fedde thing where he's just kind of being effective and getting ground balls, and the sweeper is sweeping enough, and it's all kind of working out just fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the game. Is Eric Fedde. I don't know what more to say. We like it. It's good either way. It's good to help them win right now. It's good to make him a more valuable trade asset if that's the way things go. So
that is the only way I could really see the Cardinals like kind of having their cake and eating it too, like trading from their big league roster and improving the team is like moving somebody like Fedde and pulling the Quinn Matthews lever or something like that. But it's obviously a huge gamble. It's probably more likely McGreevy right now. Do you trust McGreevy enough? And, what does that all look like? But
I don't know, man. I don't think you could say you're competing and also trading a productive Eric Fedde unless it was somehow in some sort of bundle to get an even better starter. But who's both trading for Eric Fedde and also moving a starter,
Fedde's a rental, so that scenario is not going to come up.
Exactly. If the Cardinals had any other if Fedde was your 5th best starter, you could pull that off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he's not, and they will still have 70 or 60 games to play after the trade deadline, and so yeah.
I'm telling you, the Dodgers are going to get Miles Mikolas and transform him. It's going to happen. Let's talk about Andre Granillo. He got his first MLB win and first MLB save in the same day during that White Sox doubleheader. I just thought that was a fun note. That's got to be
I was just thinking
something like that. How often has that happened?
I cannot imagine. I mean, it's baseball, so it's probably happened before. Or like some weird thing where like, they gave him a save and a win that day.
Yeah.
Although the save hasn't been around for that long. So
right.
I'd be really surprised if it's ever happened before, but also it's baseball, so it's probably happened like 6 times already.
He's looked good. He has not been the strikeout machine that I thought he was going to be upon joining the club, but he hasn't, been destroyed by anything yet. He has left his guys on base. He hasn't given up a home run, and I think the strikeouts are going to come, but he's been solid.
Yeah. I mean, it's the bullpen shuffle. You and I think both were pretty hyped on this guy last week. He certainly seems to have this sort of repertoire to be a bullpen staple going forward, and results. He's handful of innings at the major league level. So still more to come, but I've liked what I've seen so far.
Speaking of, Phil Maton has been one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. He has not given up a run in June. He's striking out almost 40% of batters he's facing in the month of June. And he has been like low-key the MVP of this team, I think. He has been fantastic.
Yeah, I put this in the Birds Court the other day, but it's getting to the point where you do start to wonder, what do the Cardinals do with Phil Maton? He took this really tiny deal with the Cardinals, $2 million right at the end of the offseason. Maybe spring training had even already started. It was right around that time. And he's been the best reliever on the team. He's only 32, which is obviously older, but there are relievers who, are effective well past that. I don't know. Do you just say, well, what a great year, great value? So let's assume we don't trade it. Let's assume the Cardinals are playing well and they don't trade him at the deadline, and we have him at the end of the year. Is this an extension candidate? Are you thinking about throwing him, 220, something like that? Or do you just want to say, boy, that was nice. The bullpen shuffle worked out. We got a great year out of this guy. Good luck. We don't want to spend that sort of money on a bullpen guy again.
Yeah. Normally I would say that. But there's two kind of X factors with Phil Maton that I think make it worth what, you didn't like that?
Just X factors.
Too much. Okay. It factors or
Vin Diesel. I don't know.
There's two things about him.
Triple X. I wish there were three.
Okay. But I think make it worth.
Just need one more factor.
Actually, I will say there's three things.
Hell yeah. All right. We got
there are three
Triple
things.
X. Yeah.
All right. First thing, he's from the area, Nate. He's just down the road, Central Illinois. He probably likes Provel cheese. He's a Midwestern guy. We love it, folks, don't we? So you got to keep the Midwestern guys here. You don't let these corn-fed so-and-sos get away from the Cardinals. That's the first thing. Second thing is he is having one of the best relief seasons we've seen in a very long time. He is just being great. And he might not be great next year, but I think he's going to be good. So I think that's something to consider. The other thing is that he is a spin rate daddy, and he is one of those guys that I think we've seen. We've seen Ryan Presley has aged pretty well. These guys that don't have the 95, but they have ridiculous spin rate. We've seen them age pretty well. And again, I'm not saying this guy is going to be the closer next year when Helsley leaves or anything like that, but I think that he's valuable enough to throw a little bit of cash at and keep him in the system for those three X factors, those Xander Cages. You know what they say? Spin me, daddy. Spin me, daddy. But why not? It looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's you need to do one of two things. Is either that, ideally just do it now, extend him or whatever, or just trade him at the trade deadline, kind of regard. The Brewers have done this, right? To mixed success. But you've got a reliever who is at extreme peak value. You've got him for 2.5 more months. The life of a reliever is incredibly volatile. If you can move him for long-term assets at the deadline, what is the actual results difference in over a 2-month period between a Maton and a Granillo? It could be a game or two, and that might matter if you're rushing for the Central or for the wild card. So it might not be worth it. But I don't know. Didn't the Brewers got Mizorowski right
I thought he was a compensation pick.
Was that a compensation pick? Okay.
I have to look it up.
Yeah, the Brewers have gotten some good guys from trading. Relievers at peak value sort of thing. So I'd be incredibly surprised if the Cardinals would do that. They don't typically do that sort of move. But that's kind of where my mind's at. Either extend him or trade him, because we can't just let this sort of value just walk at the end of the year.
Yeah, like I said, for all three of my X factors, Nathan, for the triple X factors, I think you got to keep him. Why not keep him?
Yeah, was Xander Cage the name of the character from Triple X?
I think so. Now I have to look that up. I think so though. No, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it was Xander Cage.
Hell yeah, brother!
I'm glad I knew that off the top of my head.
I'm proud of you. Remember when he grinds on a staircase handrail with like a dinner plate or whatever, then uses it to deflect bullets?
My favorite is in the Return of Xander Cage, the sequel to Triple X. He jumps off a a telephone tower and in ski boots, lands in skis, and then skis down the jungle.
Hell yeah.
There's no snow. It's really good.
Jungle skis. Man, remember when movies were good?
I do. 2017. That was the last year.
Bring back Xander Cage.
Yeah, let's go.
Bring him back. All right. What? Anything else on this?
Nah, dog. Nah, dog.
Okay.
Keep Phil Maton.
All right. Well, we have some series to talk about, some league news, and a little game to play. But before we get to that, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on Patreon by listeners just like you out there, wherever you are. If you enjoy the show and want to support the time and effort that goes into bringing it to you every single week, consider joining the Patreon. It's quick, it's easy, it's cheap. It's a good way to show your support directly, and we really appreciate everyone who joins, including Chaz, who just rejoined and joined the Discord, the Bird Scored, which is our private Discord server. It is a perk you get for joining at any level. It is a great place to join and chat with other Cardinal fans, listeners of the show, and some other people from around the Cardinal community are in there as well. And we just have it's a really great place to sort of talk about Cardinal baseball and really anything you might want to. We're all in there during the games. I don't know. It in a lot of ways is kind of replaced for me what other social media used to feel like while you're watching a game, where you could actually go and like comment on something and there's other real people talking back to you. So it's a really fun environment, and we really appreciate all of our patrons. Shout out to them. If you can't, I understand, but we would appreciate if you take a few moments to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. That helps a ton, helps us show up in search engines and things like that. And tell your friends and tell your family. If you need some easy links to share, Hambone here can tell you where to find us online.
We're on Blue Sky. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. You can listen to this show on Spotify. If you're that kind of person, you can go do that. Add us to a playlist. Your friends will love it. You can watch this podcast on YouTube, and I guess people like that too. You can listen to us on YouTube. We're everywhere. Just find us on the socials everywhere. You can email us, whatever you got, to talkingaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of that information, including Talking About Birds t-shirts. Do you do the wave? Do you not do the wave? At talkingaboutbirds.com. And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
Yes, and while we have been recording, I got a message from someone who has contributed many opening bits. I think this is the person that I referred to as the Bit Lord on a previous episode, because they have suggested several. And I'm going to read this one. I normally save them for a later episode, but I'll read this one. You'll get it why in a second. They say, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Pete Crow Armstrong, is way too ready for this all to be over. So I think that's better than mine that I did for the opening of the show. So thank you, whoever you are out there, for your constant contributions to the show. And do it like an hour earlier, and it'll be at the top of the show. All right, Hambone. The Cardinals will finish up their 2 games against the Cubs since this has been released, and then the schedule lightens up a little bit. Maybe a chance to gain some ground. On Friday, the Cardinals will go to Cleveland for 3 against the Guardians.
Yeah.
I think we all like the Guardians, right? Like I think
like as a franchise, you mean?
Yeah. I think they're
Jose Ramirez.
They've had a lot of success in the recent years, and they're a team that's easy to root for, small market, mid market sort of thing that typically tends to run the organization pretty well, at least from a baseball player development standpoint. This year, though, not going the way they planned. It kind of starts and stops at Jose Ramirez right now.
Yeah, Steven Kwan is a very good real baseball player. Steven Kwan exists.
Sure. Yeah. He slaps it around.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez, quietly like a future Hall of Famer, that should be one of the biggest stars in baseball, and like is for people who really care about the game, but most people don't really know who he is because he plays for the Guardians.
I was thinking about that the other day, like just because baseball is the way that it is, and it sits in this place in the zeitgeist right now. It's like if you're like kind of a Mariners fan and your team traded for Jose Ramirez, I bet a lot of people would be like, huh? Is that good?
Yeah.
And he is, like you just said, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is one of the best players right now, a perennial MVP type candidate.
Yep.
And that's part of it being Cleveland, part of it being like he's not really out there all the time, and that's okay. But anyways, I think their pitching is pretty good. I think that when you look at Williams and Bybee and Ortiz and Ciccone as a unit, and even Logan Allen as a unit, it's a pretty good group. There's no one that's really amazing in that group, but I would take Luis Ortiz on the Cardinals.
Sure.
I would take Bybee on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Gavin Williams, I think I would take him too, probably, if I'm honest. But it's like a good group. It's just not a great group, and their position player group is worse than that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my thoughts on the Guardians.
Yeah, like that. Their standings, they're bottom of the pack. When you look at where they land in the league in statistical outcomes, hitting, pitching, relief, everything, they're just sort of middle or lower middle of the pack. So they can win some games. But this all is wrapping up to say this should be a series that the Cardinals do well in. I as you were saying that, it makes me wonder if maybe, we've talked about like the desire to go and acquire a young starter with control. The Cardinals have a history of trading with the Guardians. Serfolio comes from the Guardians. Maybe one of those names is a future Cardinal. I don't know. We'll see. But this should be a good series for the Cardinals. And so hopefully they can win at least one more of these 2 games against the Cubs, if not both, obviously, but it's really hard to sweep a 4-game set. But win another game against the Cubs and then go in and continue this hot streak and play against the Guardians really well, because the door is wide open for that. And then after that, they stay on the road, stay in that general part of the United States, because they head over to Pittsburgh to play against the Pirates. Now, we've talked a lot about the Pirates this year. They have some upside. They obviously have Paul Skeens, O'Neal Cruz, who's been really scuffling lately. But they're the worst team in the Central and one of the worst teams in the NL. They need to get rid of their ownership. They kind of need an overhaul of everything. I don't know. Anything like we've talked about them a lot for obvious reasons, but anything kind of stand out to you about the Pirates right now?
No, I'll bring up 2 other things. Did you see Dennis Santana try to slap a fan the other day?
I did. Never a good look. Never a good look. you know?
No, not cute.
The only time you should be able to slap a fan is whatever that guy said to Ketel Marte.
Oh, God, yeah.
I hate to even bring it up,
I know.
but someone probably should have gone and slapped that guy. Yeah, not cute. Don't try to slap fans.
Not cute. Let's change the subject. Would you vote for Andrew McCutchen to be a Hall of Famer?
Ooh, what a interesting question. My gut says no, but I am going to pull him up real quick to see if maybe I'm giving him the short end a little bit. Okay, so he's currently at 53 Fangraphs WAR.
Yeah.
327 dinger. I don't think so. I think that's Hall of Very Good, you know?
Man. Yeah, and maybe it's just because I watched the NL Central and I've seen him for so long. His peak was ridiculous. Yeah. I like him. Like his Jaws, his Jaws rating, he's the 27th in center field. That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
I might vote for him.
Yeah,
is all I'm saying. I'm not saying my vote is good. I'm not saying that other people should do it, but I might give him a vote.
Well, he's the opposite of a Kurt Schilling type, or he's the type that like he maybe isn't quite there from a statistical standpoint, but everyone just likes him so much, and he's like he's a huge name for a storied franchise. Ending his career there, there's a lot of the intangibles, so to speak, that like lift him a little bit. And he is like, I don't know, I think 60 FWAR is usually kind of where you're starting to like, become more of a lock. And he's one really good season away from that, one elite season away from that, but that's just not going to happen at this point. I don't know. I'm not a small Hall guy, so like if he got in, I think it'd be fine. When you think about his era, he's got the peak like you talked about. He just doesn't quite have the longevity. He's had a few really rough seasons that really crushed what was a Hall of Fame path. It just kind of shows how hard it is to really even maintain any of it into your mid to late 30s, which is what the Hall of Fame guys do, right? They're good until they're like 38 or 39.
Yeah. I might vote for him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
once they
he's a great player.
Once they finally start giving podcasters Hall of Fame votes.
That should be any moment. That's all I got for the Pirates, Nady.
Okay. Let's go through a few bits of league news. I've been waiting to talk about this guy. You threw it in here. Big fans from this show. The big dumper himself. It's about time that he gets the Talking About Birds bump. What an incredible season this guy is having. What are they feeding him over there?
No kidding. He's a big boy. Cal Raleigh. He hit his 28th and 29th home runs on the Friday game, which broke Hall of Famer Johnny Bench's record for first half catcher homers of 28, set in 1970. Raleigh hit his 30th the next day, which set the MLB record of 29 for switch hitters before the All-Star break. And if he continues to take it even further, Cal Raleigh could challenge Barry Bonds' MLB record of 39 homers before the All-Star break. I think he's sitting. Where is he at right now, Nate? Is he at 34?
Is he at 34?
He's at 32. He's at 32 right now.
Okay.
So we have what is it? 4 weeks until the All-Star break. So if he goes on another heater or just stays hot, I would love to see this. Cal Raleigh is having an MVP level season. He is also the best defensive catcher in baseball. This is awesome. I don't know what else to say.
It's incredible. He if it weren't for Aaron Judge, who has been on, he's heating back up, but we saw the first real slump from Aaron Judge over like a 9-game period. So now he's only hitting 370 or something like that.
Right.
You know, it's still, but if it weren't for him, Cal Raleigh would be like the unanimous, front runner for MVP. And part of me kind of hopes, like, even if Judge ends up with higher WAR, like, I kind of hope Cal Raleigh gets it and sticks with the, just like,
well, here's what Judge ain't catching. He's doing everything else, but he's not a catcher.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. And I don't know. He seems like a fun guy too. And you like also, I haven't looked at the splits on this, but he's doing this in the hardest to hit ballpark in baseball.
Right.
So I wonder, I know we can look this up, but like, I wonder if he was playing in like, if we went the entire other way, he was playing in like Great American Ballpark or something like that, if he'd be like already at 40,
Bring him to Coors.
Yeah, sure.
It looks like he has 14 home runs at home, 18 away.
Yeah. So those at home are, he's crushing them. They're almost.
He does not hit cheapies, period. This guy smashes the ball.
Yeah. He's a lot of fun.
He is. All right. Next, we have the Reds called up pitching prospect Chase Burns, who struck out 8 and 5 innings. Did you watch any of that start, Nathan?
I did. I watched most of it, actually.
Oh, my God.
He struck out the first 6 he faced, which,
yes,
there's stats going everywhere. It's like no one has done that in 60 years or something, like incredible. They did eventually get to him. Ben Rice hit a home run, and his final line is not as amazing as the game actually looked, because 5 innings, kind of high whip, ERAs, whatever, but 8 strikeouts, no walks. The dude's an ace. He's like immediately an ace at the major league level. And the Reds, I still think, have a few too many holes, but man, they get Hunter Green back healthy. They got Ellie, who is playing well. Like, this is going to be a good team. If they spend any money on improving this team in a meaningful way, it's going to be a problem, because that guy, I think he's the real deal.
Yeah. That start last night scared me a little bit, because there were parts where he looked so good. And just like, he's just throwing fastballs and people are looking at him like they're 112 miles per hour. He made Aaron Judge look really bad on a slider. It was very impressive.
He was getting strikeouts on fastballs down the middle.
Yeah.
Swinging right through it.
He's 22 years old. So look out for that, Cardinals fans. Yeah. All right. Last piece of news. Some good news. Rays owner Stu Sternberg. Whoa. is in quote unquote advanced talks to sell the team. Sternberg purchased the Rays franchise for $200 million back in 2004, and he looks to sell the franchise to a real estate developer named Patrick Zuplansky for approximately $1.7 billion. But good news.
Hold on. No, let's pour one out for these poor owners. It's not a profitable business. Like, they're all hanging in there year by year. Come on. This guy only made $1.5 billion in the last 21 years from it. So
20 years, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we remember, folks, that it's the owners who have it the worst of everyone involved in baseball.
Well, obviously, I highlighted those numbers for a reason, and that it's exactly what you're talking about. Is if you feel like you don't have enough money and you're a major league owner, sell the team. You can become a very wealthy person, essentially overnight. Yeah, just do it.
Or
Guardians,
because of how modern money works, you have something that's worth $1.7 billion, so you have an unlimited access to low cost loans, and you never have to pay taxes on anything. So it's a cool system, and but they're really struggling out there. So
it's working for everyone, Nate.
Yep.
All right, that's all the league news I got this week.
All right, Hambone, tonight the Cardinals play their 81st game of the season. People typically say the midway point is the All-Star break, but it's not at all. We are now at the midway point of the season.
It's flown by, Nathan.
It really has.
I hate it.
It's been,
Give me more.
I know. It's been blown by partly because it's been a surprisingly more fun season than we thought. And that's because we've been having some good performances from our players, especially those at the core of the team. So I thought now would be a good time for another check-in on our little game, Draft Day, Heroes and Hatchlings edition.
Wowie wee wow.
All right. Hopefully remember to just put in the little song. Thanks again to associate sound producer Chris Phillips, who I saw Devo with.
Wow.
So, okay. So if you're new to the show, at the start of the season, Hambone here and I did a little draft where we took 3 from the opening day 26-man and 3 from anywhere else in the Cardinal organization. And we keep track of their Fangraphs WAR. Whoever accrues the most WAR at the end of the season wins. Part of the reason I like this game is it just allows us to dig in a little bit on each individual player and how their season is progressing. So to recap our drafts, Ben has Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Jose Fermin, Thomas Saggese, and Riley O'Brien. And I have Sonny Gray, Mason Wynn, Iván Herrera, Michael McGreevy, Quinn Matthews, and Tink Hence.
Wow.
How you feeling here at the halfway point about your squad? I'll go over the numbers in a moment.
I feel pretty good. Newt had quite the dip, though. Newt had a prolonged stretch of bad baseball. Outside of that, I feel pretty good about my team.
Yeah, well, let's dig into the numbers here. So Nolan Arenado, Hambone, when we last spoke at the quarter mark of the season, he was at 1.4 F4. He also slumped. He is now at 1.2 F4. So this last quarter of games, Arenado has lost 0.2 of a WAR. Nootbaar also, when we last checked in, was at 1.1. He is now at 1. So considering his little hot streak, I'm assuming he just a handful of games ago, he was probably at like 0.8 or something like that. So
he's coming back, though. He's coming back. I'm not worried.
So 2 rough starts for you. Brendan Donovan, however, continues to play well. When we last checked in, he was at 1.6. He is now at 2.3. And
Let's go.
Leads your team and leads all of the players that we selected in this game. And Jose Fermin has not played, so you got nothing from him. And Thomas Saggese, who last we checked in was at 1.4, is now at, did I say 1.4? He's just at 0.4. He's now at 0.3. So unfortunately, 3 of your 6 guys went down in the last, month and a half of games.
I hate to see it.
Riley O'Brien, though, who was at negative 0.3, is now at, negative 0.1 is now at 0.3. So he's gained almost half a WAR since we last checked in. Putting your total at 5.1.
Okay.
Over on my team, things have been going pretty well, Hambone. Sonny Gray gained a full WAR between our last, and he's now at 1.9. Mason Wynn also gained almost a full WAR. He's now at 2.1, up from 1.2. Iván Herrera is at 1.6, up from
steal of the draft right there. Steal of the draft. Wow.
Yeah, he was my last pick from the Major League squad. And Michael McGreevy, who was my pick from the Baby Birds, the Hatchlings, is now at 0.5, up from 0.2. And my 2 other minors guys, Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence, neither have played. So that puts my total jumping ahead of you.
Oh no!
At 6.1, I am a full Fangraphs WAR ahead of you now. So you were beating me by 1.2 last time. I'm now beating you by 1. So good for me, bad for you. But I think we'll see how this ends, because you were held back a little bit by Newt and Arenado's cold streak, but now
I feel pretty confident in those guys having a good rest of the year.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Like, we're only at the halfway point, right? How often it's a huge part of baseball. Big second half. Like there's so much baseball left that can fully define seasons that this whole thing could flip at any point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Newt, I think Newt kind of taking off in the second half would be a really, really good sign for the Cardinals, but we'll see.
Yeah, it would be. But I feel like I have the higher floor with Gray, Wynn, and Herrera, though Herrera keeps getting hurt. And if he's DH only, that's really going to impact. Part of the reason I took him was the value of him being even a mediocre catcher.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, like I said earlier, he's got the 9th best WRC plus in baseball when he's playing. So
yeah,
just stay there, man. Come back.
Yeah. So that's going to do it. We'll check in on this game here again at around the 75% mark. And then again at the end of the season. So, good luck to me first and then Ben second, but good luck to the Cardinals overall. Should be a fun game tonight and hopefully another good one tomorrow against the Cubs as the Cardinals maybe are making a play at the NL Central. We'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But it will certainly be an interesting month of baseball as we approach the trade deadline. So if you want to contact us, you have a question or comment for the show, check out links to all of our socials and ways to contact us at talkingaboutbirds.com. Again, I'd recommend checking out the Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And we will be back next week, as always. And until next week, go Cardinals.
Eat those Cubbies.
Did you say eat those Cubbies?
Eat them.